August 12, 1985, a routine domestic flight carrying 524 souls aboard transformed into one of the deadliest single aircraft disasters in aviation history. What happened to Japan Airlines Flight 123 that fateful evening? The answers will leave you in shock, and the lessons learned could save lives even today. Imagine flying through the night, high above the ocean, unaware that you are being watched. Suddenly, out of the darkness, a missile streaks toward your plane. You have seconds left, but you don't even know it yet. This is the chilling story of Korean Airlines Flight 007. On September 1, 1983, Korean Airlines Flight 007, a Boeing 747-230B, took off from New York City, bound for Seoul, South Korea, with a stop in Anchorage, Alaska, for refueling. Aboard the aircraft were 269 passengers and crew, including a U.S. congressman, but none of them knew their journey would end in tragedy over the Sea of Japan. After departing Anchorage, Flight 007 was supposed to follow its designated route. But due to a navigation error, the aircraft veered off course, straying into restricted Soviet airspace. It was the height of the Cold War, and tensions were at an all-time high. As the plane unknowingly crossed into Soviet territory, Soviet radar operators detected the aircraft and scrambled two Sukhoi Su-15 fighter jets. The pilots tried to identify the plane, but in the darkness of the night, they mistook it for a military intruder. The command was given. The plane was to be eliminated. At 3:26 a.m., the unthinkable happened. A Soviet jet fired a heat-seeking missile, striking Flight 007 near the tail. The explosion crippled the aircraft's controls. For a few agonizing minutes, the Boeing 747 spiraled downward. The pilots fought desperately, but the fate of the plane was sealed. Moments later, it crashed into the frigid waters near Monaran Island, killing everyone on board. Before we continue, take a moment to reflect on this chilling moment in aviation history. If you're finding this story gripping, make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more shocking aviation incidents. And let us know in the comments, should the Soviets have handled this differently? The world was in shock. How could a commercial airliner be shot down without warning? The United States, Japan, and South Korea launched investigations, but the Soviet Union initially denied involvement. It wasn't until later that they admitted to shooting down the aircraft, claiming they believed it was a U.S. spy plane. Black box data was withheld by the Soviet government for nearly a decade. When finally released, it confirmed that Flight 007 had simply strayed off course due to a navigation error, a tragic and avoidable mistake that led to global outrage and major policy changes in air traffic navigation. This tragedy led to a crucial safety improvement. The U.S. government decided to make GPS technology available for civilian use, ensuring that aircraft navigation would be far more precise. Today, thanks to advancements in GPS, incidents like this are far less likely to occur. What do you think? Should the Soviet Union have given a warning, or was this an unforgivable act? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more gripping aviation stories. Until next time, fly safe. December 21, 1988, a quiet night in the sky turns into a nightmare. Pan Am Flight 103, a massive Boeing 747, is cruising at 31,000 feet over the United Kingdom. Passengers are settling in, unaware that in mere moments their fate will be sealed by an unseen force. Then, without warning, a deafening explosion rips through the aircraft. The plane disintegrates mid-air, raining fire and debris over the town of Lockerbie. What could have caused such a horrifying tragedy? The journey began at Frankfurt, Germany, with a final destination of Detroit, Michigan, via London and New York. The aircraft took off from Heathrow Airport at 1825 GMT, carrying 243 passengers and 16 crew members. Among them, families, students heading home for the holidays, and innocent travelers. As the jumbo jet soared over Scotland, a bomb, hidden inside a suitcase, detonated in the forward cargo hold. In less than a second, the fuselage is torn apart. The cockpit and forward section of the plane separate instantly, leaving no chance for distress calls. Passengers and wreckage plummet to the ground, crashing into the town of Lockerbie, with fiery destruction. In the aftermath, investigators from the UK and the US worked tirelessly to uncover the truth. They pieced together thousands of fragments and soon find chilling evidence: a small radio cassette player that once held a deadly Semtex explosive. The device had been carefully placed inside a suitcase, loaded onto the plane in Frankfurt. After years of investigation, the blame falls on Libyan intelligence agents. It was an act of terrorism, one that took 270 lives, including 11 people on the ground. The world is shaken and air travel security is never the same again. This tragedy led to major security reforms in aviation. But tell me, do you think airport security today is strong enough to prevent such attacks? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you find these stories important, hit that like button and subscribe. Your support helps keep these stories alive. Imagine boarding a routine flight on a sunny afternoon, expecting to reach your destination safely. But just moments after takeoff, the unthinkable happens. A massive jet plunges to the ground in a fiery disaster. What went wrong? And could it have been prevented? It was May 25th, 1979, a day like any other at Chicago's O'Hare International Airport. American Airlines Flight 191, a McDonnell Douglas DC 1010, was preparing for its journey to Los Angeles. The 258 passengers and 13 crew members were looking forward to their flight, unaware of the tragedy that would soon unfold. At 2:59 p.m., the aircraft roared down the runway, its three powerful engines propelling it into the sky. But just 31 seconds after takeoff, disaster struck. The left engine suddenly separated from the wing, tearing away crucial hydraulic lines in the process. Witnesses on the ground saw the aircraft climbing unsteadily, banking sharply to the left. Inside the cockpit, the pilots fought desperately to control the plane. Without critical systems, the DC-10 became impossible to manage. In a matter of moments, the jet crashed into an open field near Des Plaines, Illinois, exploding on impact. All 271 people on board, along with 2 individuals on the ground, lost their lives in what became the deadliest aviation accident in U.S. history. This story is as haunting as it is important. If you're captivated by these aviation mysteries and the lessons they teach us, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Share your thoughts in the comments. What do you think was the critical mistake here? Let's uncover the answers together. The investigation, led by the National Transportation Safety Board, revealed a shocking truth. The engine detachment wasn't caused by a flaw in the aircraft's design, but by improper maintenance procedures. During a previous engine replacement, a forklift was used in a way that damaged the pylon structure attaching the engine to the wing. Over time, cracks developed, leading to the catastrophic failure. Additionally, the DC-10 lacked certain fail-safe systems that could have mitigated the consequences of the hydraulic line damage. These gaps highlighted the urgent need for stricter maintenance protocols and design improvements. This tragedy taught the aviation industry hard but crucial lessons. Rigorous maintenance standards and thorough inspections became non-negotiable. Aircraft designs were also improved to prevent a single point of failure from causing such devastating outcomes. Aviation safety has come a long way since Flight 191, but the lessons of the past remain vital. Imagine this. You're on a routine flight, soaring over the Persian Gulf, the hum of jet engines filling the cabin. Passengers are relaxed, some chatting, others gazing at the blue waters below. But just minutes after takeoff, disaster strikes. Without warning, a missile is fired. A deafening explosion rips through the aircraft, and within seconds, everything changes. What happened to Iran Air Flight 655? And why was a passenger plane mistaken for an enemy aircraft? On July 3, 1988, Iran Air Flight 655, an Airbus A300B2-203, departed from Bandar Abbas, Iran, en route to Dubai. The flight, carrying 290 passengers and crew, including 66 children, was expected to be a short and routine journey across the Strait of Hormuz. As the aircraft ascended to its cruising altitude of 14,000 feet, it followed its designated civilian flight path, one it had taken multiple times before. But what the pilots didn't know was that below them, the USS Vincennes, a U.S. Navy guided missile cruiser, was patrolling the waters on high alert amid tensions between Iran and the United States. Suddenly, an urgent alarm blared aboard the Vincennes. The ship's radar detected an aircraft approaching. Believing it to be an Iranian F-14 fighter jet, the crew had only moments to react. Confusion mounted. Was this a hostile threat? Within minutes, the decision was made. A missile was launched. At 10:24 a.m., the missile struck Iran Air Flight 655. The aircraft disintegrated mid-air, sending wreckage plummeting into the sea. All 290 souls on board perished instantly. This was one of the most shocking tragedies in aviation history. But was it truly an accident or a deadly mistake? Before we dive into the investigation, take a moment. If you find this story gripping, hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life aviation mysteries, and let us know in the comments. Do you think this was an accident or something more? The investigation revealed a horrifying truth. Iran Air Flight 655 had been misidentified. The Vincennes crew mistook the Airbus A300 for an F-14 Tomcat fighter jet. However, multiple signals indicated the aircraft was a commercial flight, yet those warnings were ignored. The U.S. later claimed the Vincennes was acting in self-defense, but evidence suggested the civilian aircraft was never a threat. The tragedy sparked international outrage. The U.S. initially refused to apologize, but later expressed deep regret. Years later, Iran and the U.S. reached a settlement at the International Court of Justice, with the U.S. agreeing to compensate the victims' families, but never admitting legal responsibility. This devastating mistake serves as a grim reminder of the consequences of miscommunication and heightened military tensions. Passenger planes operate in sensitive airspace even today, and ensuring clear identification and open communication between military and civilian aviation is crucial to preventing another catastrophe. A tragedy like Iran Air Flight 655 should never happen again. What if I told you that a peaceful flight cruising at 33,000 feet turned into one of the most shocking aviation tragedies of all time? This is the story of Malaysia Airlines Flight 17, a Boeing 777 that met an unthinkable fate in the skies over Ukraine. Stay with us as we unravel the chilling details of what happened on that fateful day. It was July 17, 2014, a clear summer afternoon in Amsterdam. Malaysia Airlines Flight 17, a Boeing 777-2 H6ER, was preparing to embark on its journey to Kuala Lumpur. On board were 298 passengers and crew, representing 17 different nationalities. Families, tourists, and business travelers all settled into their seats, unaware of the tragedy that awaited them. At 12:31 p.m. local time, MH17 took off from Amsterdam's Schiphol Airport. The aircraft climbed steadily, cruising at 33,000 feet, flying over Europe's air corridors. Everything seemed routine. Passengers were likely enjoying their meals, flipping through magazines, or perhaps watching the in-flight entertainment. But as the plane entered the airspace over eastern Ukraine, a region embroiled in conflict, fate took a cruel turn. At approximately 4:20 p.m., air traffic controllers lost contact with MH17. The plane had vanished from radar screens. What followed was chaos and heartbreak. The wreckage of the Boeing 777 was discovered near the village of Hrabov in Donetsk Oblast, Ukraine. Debris was scattered across fields, and the loss of life was total. All 298 souls aboard the flight perished. Before we delve deeper into the investigation, let us know in the comments. Do you think airlines should avoid conflict zones at all costs, even if it means longer flight times? Your opinions matter. And if you're finding this story gripping, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more in-depth aviation stories. Let's continue. As the world mourned, investigators worked tirelessly to piece together what happened. The Dutch Safety Board, leading the investigation, faced a monumental task. Black boxes were recovered from the crash site, and forensic analysis pointed to a horrifying conclusion. The aircraft had been struck by a Buk surface-to-air missile. This missile, launched from a rebel-held area in eastern Ukraine, had shattered the plane in mid-air. The explosive force was catastrophic, leaving no chance for survival. The investigation also revealed that the flight path had taken MH17 through an active conflict zone. Although the airspace was open at the time, questions arose about whether the risks had been underestimated. This tragedy serves as a grim reminder of the importance of aviation safety and the need for stricter guidelines to avoid conflict zones. Airlines and authorities must prioritize passenger safety over convenience, even if it means rerouting flights to avoid danger. If this story moved you, make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more stories that reveal the lessons behind aviation disasters. And don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. What measures do you think should be taken to prevent such tragedies in the future? Imagine boarding a plane, expecting to reach your destination safely, only to find yourself trapped in a deadly race against time. This is the haunting story of Saudia Flight 163, an aviation disaster that could have been avoided. Stay with us as we unravel the chilling events that unfolded on that fateful day. On August 19, 1980, Saudia Flight 163, a Lockheed L-1011-200 TriStar, prepared for its journey from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, to Jeddah. The atmosphere at King Khalid International Airport was calm, with passengers boarding the state-of-the-art aircraft for what should have been a routine flight. With 301 souls on board, including 287 passengers and 14 crew members, the plane took off smoothly at 6:08 p.m. local time. But less than 7 minutes into the flight, disaster began to unfold. A warning light in the cockpit indicated a fire in the cargo compartment. Despite the advanced systems on board, the crew was initially unsure of the severity of the situation. Captain Mohammed Ali Kouater and his team decided to turn back to Riyadh for an emergency landing, prioritizing the safety of everyone on board. However, the minutes that followed would become a terrifying chain of misjudgments. As the plane descended, smoke began seeping into the cabin, filling it with a choking, acrid haze. Passengers struggled to breathe as panic set in. The flight attendants fought valiantly to maintain order, but the situation was rapidly spiraling out of control. Meanwhile, in the cockpit, the crew faced mounting pressure to land as quickly as possible. At 6:36 p.m., Flight 163 finally touched down at Riyadh. Relief should have washed over the passengers, but an unthinkable decision turned the situation catastrophic. Instead of initiating an immediate evacuation, the captain taxied the plane to a remote area of the airport, wasting precious time. By the time the engines were shut down and rescue efforts began, the cabin was engulfed in smoke. Tragically, all 301 lives were lost, not due to the fire itself, but due to smoke inhalation. The delayed evacuation proved fatal, leaving investigators and the world to grapple with one pressing question: what went wrong? Before we dive into the heart-wrenching investigation and the lessons learned, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel. We share gripping stories like this, uncovering hidden truths behind aviation disasters. Don't forget to leave a comment about what you think could have been done differently in this situation. Your insights matter. The investigation revealed that the fire likely started due to flammable materials in a passenger's luggage. While the exact ignition source remained uncertain, the tragedy exposed critical flaws in safety protocols. First, the crew's decision to delay evacuation was heavily scrutinized. Experts determined that had the passengers been evacuated immediately upon landing, many, if not all, could have survived. Second, the aircraft's design contributed to the disaster. The lack of fire-resistant cargo materials and ineffective smoke suppression systems in the cabin exacerbated the situation. This incident prompted widespread changes in aviation safety, including stricter regulations on cargo materials and improved training for emergency scenarios. This tragedy serves as a stark reminder of the importance of swift action in emergencies. In aviation, every second counts. Delays, even by minutes, can mean the difference between life and death. Today, we honor the 301 lives lost by emphasizing the critical need for rigorous safety protocols and the courage to act decisively in the face of danger. If this story moved you, Imagine you're 31,000 feet above the Atlantic Ocean, on a journey of joy, unaware that each passing second pulls you closer to a catastrophic mystery. What could go so wrong that an entire plane would vanish in a heartbeat? This is the chilling story of Air India Flight 182. June 23, 1985. Air India Flight 182, a Boeing 747-237B, takes off from Toronto, heading toward its final destination, Mumbai, with a stopover in London. On board are 329 souls, a mix of vacationers, families, and crew eager to reunite with loved ones. The flight progresses smoothly, cruising over the Atlantic Ocean near the Irish coast. Passengers settle into the long-haul journey, unaware of the ticking time bomb hidden in the cargo hold, literally. At 7:14 a.m. local time, tragedy strikes. Without warning, an ear-splitting explosion rips through the aircraft. In mere seconds, Flight 182 disintegrates mid-air, sending debris and personal belongings spiraling into the ocean. There were no survivors. Before we uncover the shocking details of what led to this devastating incident, take a moment to reflect on the importance of aviation safety. If stories like this keep you at the edge of your seat, hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. What safety lessons do you think can be drawn from incidents like this? Let us know below. As investigators scoured the wreckage and survivors' accounts, a grim reality emerged. The cause of the explosion? A suitcase bomb planted by extremist operatives. The tragedy was linked to the Khalistan separatist movement, marking one of the deadliest terrorist attacks in aviation history. Shockingly, just hours earlier, another bomb intended for a connecting Air India flight detonated prematurely at Tokyo's Narita airport, killing 2 baggage handlers. The coordinated nature of the attacks revealed significant lapses in airport security, particularly in screening checked-in luggage. The inquiry also highlighted missed warnings. Intelligence agencies had intercepted conversations hinting at a potential attack, yet these warnings weren't acted upon with urgency. These oversights cost 329 innocent lives. Air India Flight 182 stands as a harrowing reminder of the critical need for stringent airport security and thorough intelligence sharing. Modern aviation has since adopted advanced screening technologies and international collaborations, but we must never grow complacent. If you found this story compelling and believe in spreading awareness about aviation safety, what if I told you a single design flaw caused one of the deadliest aviation disasters of all time? Turkish Airlines. Flight 981 took off on a routine journey, but plunged into chaos just moments later. How could this happen? Let's unravel the chilling story that forever changed aviation safety. It's March 3rd, 1974. Turkish Airlines Flight 981, a McDonnell Douglas DC-1010, is scheduled to fly from Istanbul to London with a stopover in Paris. On board are 346 passengers and crew, a full flight, many of them returning home or heading for business trips. The DC-10 is a modern marvel of engineering, boasting cutting-edge design and efficiency. As the plane departs Paris, the skies are clear and everything appears routine. Captain Nejat Berkoz and his crew confidently guide the aircraft into the sky. But 10 minutes into the flight, as the plane climbs over the serene forests near Fontaine Chalice, disaster strikes. A thunderous boom shakes the entire aircraft. The rear cargo door has violently detached from the fuselage. The sudden decompression is catastrophic. Passengers scream as oxygen masks drop. The cabin floor near the rear collapses, exposing the cargo hold below. Crucial control cables are severed, leaving the pilots with almost no ability to steer or stabilize the plane. My dear beautiful audience, if you found this story eye-opening, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more insights into aviation incidents. In the cockpit, alarms blare. Captain Berkoz and his crew frantically attempt to regain control, but the plane begins an uncontrollable dive. At over 800 kilometers per hour, the aircraft hurtles toward the ground. At 12:40 p.m., Flight 981 crashes into the woods of Fontaine Chalice. The impact is devastating, obliterating the aircraft and leaving no survivors. Before we uncover the shocking details behind this tragedy, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. Do you think airline safety has truly come far enough since this disaster? The investigation reveals a critical design flaw in the DC-10's cargo door. Engineers had used an outward opening design, which meant it relied on locking mechanisms to keep it secure. If the locks failed or were improperly latched, the door could blow off under pressurization. Even more disturbing? A similar issue had been identified in 1972 after a near miss on an American Airlines flight. Warnings were issued, but they weren't taken seriously. Manufacturers made minor modifications, but they didn't fully address the problem. The Turkish Airlines Flight 981 disaster forced the aviation industry to act. Stricter design standards, mandatory inspections, and robust safety checks became the new norm. This tragedy taught us that ignoring small flaws can lead to unimaginable consequences. Remember, safety isn't just about fixing problems, it's about preventing them before they arise. Two massive planes soaring through the skies, heading straight for each other. No one on board has any idea their fates are intertwined until it's too late. It was a hazy afternoon on November 12, 1996. Saudi Arabian Airlines Flight 763, a Boeing 747, had just taken off from New Delhi, heading to Dhahran, Saudi Arabia. At the same time, Kazakhstan Airlines Flight 1907, an Ilyushin Il-76, was descending toward New Delhi's Indira Gandhi International Airport. The airspace near Charki, Dadri, India, was busy, with planes flying at different altitudes. Air traffic control gave specific instructions to both pilots. The Saudi flight was climbing to 14,000 feet, while the Kazakhstan flight was supposed to descend to 15,000 feet. But then, something went terribly wrong. My dear, beautiful audience, if you found this story eye-opening, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more insights into aviation incidents. The Kazakhstan crew misunderstood their assigned altitude. Instead of holding at 15,000 feet, they descended further, unknowingly entering the Saudi flight's path. At 14,000 feet, disaster struck. The tail of the Kazakhstan plane sliced through the Saudi Boeing 747, tearing it apart mid-air. Both planes disintegrated, raining debris over the fields below. All 349 people aboard the two planes lost their lives, marking this as the deadliest mid-air collision in aviation history. Before we uncover the lessons learned from this tragedy, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. What do you think could have prevented this disaster? Share your thoughts in the comments below. The investigation revealed the Kazakhstan crew's limited English skills and outdated equipment played a major role. They struggled to understand air traffic control instructions, leading to their fatal error. Additionally, back then, planes were not required to have modern collision avoidance systems, which could have warned both crews in time. This tragedy changed aviation forever. Today, collision avoidance systems are mandatory, and communication protocols between pilots and air traffic control have been standardized. These improvements have saved countless lives. August 12, 1985, a routine domestic flight carrying 524 souls aboard transformed into one of the deadliest single-aircraft disasters in aviation history. What happened to Japan Airlines Flight 123 that fateful evening? The answers will leave you in shock, and the lessons learned could save lives even today. Japan Airlines Flight 123, a Boeing 747 SR-46, took off from Tokyo's Haneda Airport at 6:12 p.m. local time, bound for Osaka. The skies were clear, and the passengers settled in for what was expected to be a smooth 54-minute journey. Among them were families returning home, business travelers, and even young children excited about their upcoming adventures. But just 12 minutes after takeoff, at an altitude of 24,000 feet, disaster struck. A loud bang echoed through the cabin as the aircraft's rear pressure bulkhead failed catastrophically, sending shockwaves through the plane. This rupture caused explosive decompression, severing crucial hydraulic lines and rendering the flight's controls almost entirely useless. The pilots, led by Captain Masami Takahama, battled to stabilize the aircraft. With no working hydraulics, the massive Boeing 747 was left to the mercy of physics, responding sluggishly to rudimentary control inputs. Passengers, gripped with terror, wrote final messages to loved ones as the aircraft oscillated uncontrollably through the skies. At this moment, as we unravel the tragedy of Flight 123, take a second to think about the bravery of these pilots and passengers. If you find these stories of courage and resilience gripping, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more detailed accounts of aviation history. And here's a question for you. If you were a passenger on this flight, what would your message home have been? Let us know in the comments below. After 32 minutes of sheer terror and desperate attempts to control the plane, Flight 123 veered toward the mountainous terrain of central Japan. At 6:56 p.m., the aircraft struck Mount Takamagahara near Ueno, disintegrating on impact. Of the 524 on board, only 4 passengers survived, a testament to sheer luck and the structural integrity of parts of the aircraft. Rescue efforts were delayed, as initial reports misidentified the crash location. By the time help arrived, precious hours had passed, and the chances of finding more survivors had dwindled. The wreckage, strewn across the mountainside, told a harrowing tale of chaos, courage, and unimaginable loss. The investigation that followed revealed a grim oversight. 7 years prior, the aircraft had undergone a tail strike repair. However, the repair was improperly executed, leaving the rear pressure bulkhead vulnerable. Over time, stress and fatigue weakened the structure until it finally gave way. This tragedy reshaped aviation safety standards worldwide. Stricter maintenance protocols, improved repair techniques, and advancements in emergency response were direct outcomes of this disaster. Today, the lessons of Flight 123 continue to guide the industry, ensuring that such a tragedy is never repeated. Imagine 2 massive Boeing 747 carrying hundreds of passengers colliding in a fiery explosion on a fog-covered runway. What went so catastrophically wrong that day at Tenerife Airport in Spain? Stay with me as we unravel the chilling details of aviation's deadliest disaster. On March 27, 1977, Tenerife's Los Rodeos airport was bustling with activity. Thick fog blanketed the tarmac, creating a challenging situation for air traffic control and the planes waiting to depart. Among them were 2 iconic Boeing 747 jumbo jets, Pan Am Flight 1736 and KLM Flight 4805. KLM Flight 4805, led by an experienced captain, had refueled and was preparing for departure. Meanwhile, Pan Am Flight 1736, also ready for takeoff, was taxiing to its designated position. The communication between the tower, the aircraft, and the dense fog created an environment ripe for disaster. In an unfortunate turn of events, miscommunication between the KLM crew and air traffic control led the KLM flight to initiate takeoff while Pan Am was still on the runway. A catastrophic collision at high speed. The KLM plane's nose slammed into the Pan Am jet, tearing through its fuselage and igniting a massive fireball that engulfed both aircraft. Before we dive deeper into what caused this tragedy, let me ask you something. Have you ever been on a plane and felt that moment of suspense just before takeoff? If this story has you on edge, hit the like button to support the channel. And while you're here, don't forget to subscribe and comment below. What's the scariest experience you've ever had on a flight? I'd love to hear your stories. The aftermath of the disaster was harrowing. Emergency responders rushed to the scene, but the destruction was overwhelming. Of the 583 people on board the 2 flights, only 61 survived, all from the Pan Am flight. The investigation revealed several contributing factors, including miscommunication, the lack of ground radar at Tenerife Airport, and the pressure on the KLM captain to meet schedule demands. The fog played a significant role, making it nearly impossible for the pilots to see each other. In response to the tragedy, the aviation industry implemented sweeping changes. Standardized phrases in cockpit communication, stricter procedures for air traffic control, and improved technology became mandatory to ensure such an incident would never happen again. This tragedy changed aviation forever, proving that even the smallest miscommunication can have catastrophic consequences. What would you have done if you were on one of those flights? Let me know in the comments below. And don't miss our next video, where we'll uncover another shocking aviation story. Until then, stay safe and keep flying high.